I'm glad we're wearing black. Uh-oh.
He's not wearing black. That's
I ruined it.
Hey, Shetsy, how are you?
I'm all right. Just so you know, because we have two Andreas on the call, I'm going to call you Fisher.
That's fine.
Okay.
You can call me Nicole.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
Yeah, that kept screwing me up in the chat because I'm used to Nicole, not Andrea again.
Yeah, I go by Nicole.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was looking at it going, I thought I was the only Andrea on that show. And I was like, oh, it's Nicole. That's who it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It kept messing me up because you were both talking, and I just thought Zabel was just running her mouth.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the second episode of the 220 with Shuts. I don't mean to be giving undue bias to Angels in America. The episode you're going to watch today kind of came together super fast, and because it has a niche that's different than just getting a bunch of actors to talk about, which I thought was terribly cool, and so we're doing it today. Please always remember that the views expressed today probably aren't the views shared by the College of Charleston Department of Theater and Dance.
No,
Just have to,
definitely not.
Probably not. Also, as this channel builds, we need to share, like, subscribe, because once we hit a certain threshold, we can start making a little money to kick back into the department. So without any further ado, let's introduce the panel.
Hi, I'm Nicole Jackson. I worked on Angels in America as a props runner. I was class of 2003, and I'm coming from Washington State.
Hi, I'm Andrea Fisher Zabel. I graduated class 2005 from the theater department. In 1998, I was the assistant stage manager for Angels in America. And I'm coming to you live from southern Spain, El Puerto de Santa Maria.
Hello, my name is Mark Copans, coming to you from Newburgh, New York. I was class of 2002 graduate in 1998. Angels in America, I was a deckhand or stagehand. Whatever you call it, I did stuff.
Well, and that's the thing about stagehands. They don't do just one thing. So it's not really fair to say, oh, it's just a stagehand.
Well,
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Well, especially when you look back, that Copans was basically everywhere.
Well, I remember, well, I can save it for it, but I remember a quote by Rob Daniel when somebody came up to the two of us and was talking to him and complimenting him on the show and looked at me and said, "What did you do?" And Rob looked at him and said, "He made it go." I had no idea what the hell I did. I was just doing shit. It was my first show, but I remember Rob said that.
Mark, apparently it's midnight in New York. I didn't realize the sun is kind of out in D.C.
I'm trying to dial this in. It's been a long time since I handled any lighting. So I went to school. Turned the light off outside the door, and I think I overshot. But now I'm sitting here, and I don't want to be the weird guy who keeps wandering out of the screen.
Well, I'll probably be that guy because I've had a lot of coffee today. But Mark, it's kind of fitting that you are in the dark since you worked backstage on the show. And what are you doing now?
Right now, I actually have a t-shirt and embroidery business. So I do a lot of screen printing, embroidery, promotional products, basically all marketing, branded marketing services.
So when we need to start selling shirts to raise money, that say the 220, you're my guy.
Absolutely. I'm
We
going to
have
talk
that.
to you about that, actually.
All right. And we have it recorded, so there's no backing out at this point.
Nope.
Nicole, you're in Washington State. Well, what are you doing there? How did you get there?
Well, I moved here in 2010 because my roommate wanted to move to Washington, and I was like, sure, I'll go. So I've been around the state a little bit. I moved to Bellingham, Washington, which is on the coast, and then now I live in Liberty Lake, which is right next to Spokane on the east side.
All right.
Cool.
And Fisher, you're in Spain.
I'm in Spain. I married a sailor, so we're actually stationed here with the U.S. Navy.
Nice.
So that's why it's about the only good thing about being in the military is the chance to live overseas. So that's pretty cool. So I'm not doing theater work. I've been married to this guy for about 10 years. So we've been traveling. We actually moved to Washington State. And then we moved to Spain about 2 years ago. We've got about 2 more years here, which is pretty awesome. But I am using my stage management experience because I'm running the Girl Scouts here. So we've got about 7 troops and 80 girls, and I'm planning camps and fundraisers and doing all sorts of magic with the Girl Scouts. So that's pretty cool. Yeah.
And if you've been keeping up with me at all, you'll know that I'm foreign service, and so.
Oh, I didn't know that.
You didn't know that? So I've lived overseas for 11 years. I'm in DC now for a 3-year stretch teaching at the Foreign Service Institute in Northern Virginia. But yeah, I've been like everywhere around where you are, but I haven't been to Spain.
It's awesome here. I love it.
I would assume so. I mean, you don't ever really hear anybody going, ooh, Spain.
Yeah.
You hear that about France. It's probably it's kind of like good to have France as a neighbor. It's kind of like being from Georgia. Everyone's like, well, you got Florida and Alabama.
Pretty much.
Right? Yeah. So yeah, that's what I've been doing. And like you, I haven't really been doing any theater. So I went from doing arts management in Georgia to doing foreign service, was overseas for 11 years straight. Probably had a 15-year period where I did nothing. And for whatever reason, like when I got to DC, people were always like, hey, you're going to get back into it. I'm like, no. Do you know how long it takes to get into a theater community? And I'm only going to be here, at the time it was only going to be 2 years. And then I saw an audition notice. And I went and I auditioned and I got a call back for 2 roles after never auditioning for anything in 15 years. And it felt really good. I went to the callbacks. There was one other actor, 2 different actors, one for each of the roles that rolled in. One-on-one with both of them. And I immediately knew I had no chance in hell. They both gave great reads. They were better ages for the roles. I was like age-wise in between. And when the director called me to let me down, I was like, so just so you know, and I basically vomited my entire theatrical history and said, if you need anything, I can either sit at home and watch Netflix, which seems kind of a shame, although fun,
right? Or
you could utilize what I have to offer. And they offered me assistant stage management, which I took and rocked it out. And now I'm involved with 3 different community theaters up here. And I just had my 1-year anniversary of being in town. So it's not only amazing to be doing something again, especially since my wife and kids, they all live in Atlanta. So I kind of go and I'm away for work. So it keeps my nose clean, keeps me busy. And it also shows the importance of actor tech.
That's awesome.
Because I don't think I'd be where I am right now within the theater community if I hadn't put myself out there to be an assistant stage manager. But enough about me.
That's really cool.
I want to know, Nicole, how did you find the College of Charleston? What was your journey there?
I went to school in Darlington, South Carolina, this little bitty hick town. And I wanted to go to a school that, had some art to it. And I loved the fact that College of Charleston was in downtown Charleston. And I had actually participated in this project called Art Summer that my county did every summer. And it was theater and music and visual arts. And we would go to Charleston for a couple of days during Spoleto. So I kind of fell in love with Charleston during that. And funny fact, I wasn't actually doing theater. I did musical arts. I was a clarinetist.
And how exactly did you find your way to Angels of America? First of all, were you a freshman?
Angels was in 98. Yes, I was a freshman.
And how did you stumble onto the decks of that show?
To be honest, I don't completely remember, but I know I was interested in getting started in something. I had gotten into the theater department because of Franklin Ashley. I wanted to do writing and playwriting and stuff like that. So it was probably by his suggestion at the time because I was a newbie and scared and didn't know anybody.
Fair. Mark.
Yes. Shots.
I mean, I'll say from where I stand, looking back on you working on that show, that it's rare for somebody to just show up freshman year with like the work ethic that you had and dedication to that show, and then stick around. Like, we had a couple people that were like 176ers show up randomly and work backstage, who were awesome, and then they went back to whatever their normal lives were after they got the extra credit they were seeking. And then there's you.
And then there's you.
And then there's me.
So the same two questions: how did you get to College of Charleston, and then how did you get into Angels in America as a deckhand?
All right. So the way I got to College of Charleston, actually, I'm from New York, Hudson Valley, New York. A little bit up from the city. Me and my family always spent time down in the South Carolina Low Country. Spent a lot of time in Hilton Head, and we're always bouncing around to check out Charleston, Savannah, things like that. My brother, actually, who's 4 years older than me, came down to South Carolina and came down to Hilton Head and toured Charleston with friends of his on spring break. One of them ended up going to the College of Charleston. Then the next year, the two more saw what it was all about, and they're like, how can I not go here? And 8-to-1 girl to guy ratio at the time. They're like, hey, I'm in.
Why? It was 1 to 5.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a great. How could you? I don't know how anybody could not like Charleston, quite honestly. So when I was looking at colleges, visited them, checked it out, and I'm like, oh yeah, definitely. At the time, I was actually planning to be an accounting major, which I would have been third generation straight in my family of accountants, and some of you might remember some stories circling around that, especially with Rick Hill. Yeah, so I was always involved in the arts in growing up and in high school. I was always working backstage, and I was the assistant director for the productions in high school for like my senior year. But I never really thought of doing any of that stuff as a career. I think it's fun, but whatever. You gotta be a big boy at some point. That's how I found my way to College of Charleston. I appreciated the fact that there were arts there, and maybe I could get involved for fun if I wanted to. But it wasn't anything I was looking to do like whole hog the way it did. The way it happened. Yeah. So basically, I was a 176er. So being liking the arts, okay, I needed an elective for my first semester, so took took theater with David Goss, Intro to Theater. And then we went and saw, I think, were you in What You Do About Nothing? I think, was that the first one? Or was it As You Like It?
That was...
Wasn't it Much Ado About Nothing?
It
Did
was-
they
it
do
was
it on
Much
like
Ado About
on the golf course?
Yeah,
or
I think
something?
that was the first,
Yeah.
that was the first show.
Because
I
that
think,
was Shakespeare
right?
Project. They always did
Yeah.
the very first
Yeah.
show at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, so that
Yeah.
was the first show we were required to go see. I saw it. I'm like, oh, this looks like fun. So I asked David the next day. I'm like, how can I get involved? And he sent me down to the shop to Rick Hill. I came in, introduced myself, said I wanted to get involved. He's like, you want a job? I'm like, I don't know. I just want to get involved. He's like, do you want to get paid? I said, no, not necessarily. He said, okay, when can you start? When you want to start? I said, whenever. He's like, all right, put your bag down in my office and come. We're striking the set. And I basically lived at the shop after that. And I think I ended up on the stage of Angels just because there was some tricky stuff going on there with trapdoors and flies and stuff. And I had kind of become Rick's little sidecar, just kind of learning, soaking in everything from him. And I was there all the time. And he needed somebody to help him out with some of that stuff. And he was teaching me as I go. And all of a sudden I'm working backstage on Angels in America. I really don't think there was a formal ask. It was just like, come help me. And that was kind of it. That's kind of, and then I just ended up doing more and more because I was there and just didn't care what people threw at me. And that was kind of it. So,
Andrea Fisher.
it was a long story, but
That's we have. Listen, I'll edit anything.
you can edit. You can edit.
out.
Yeah, your editing will be
I
tested.
love that.
Yeah.
I think sidecar is a perfect description for you and Rick, actually. That was really, yeah.
And this reason I
Without the
say,
edit
like,
for a while.
the fact that I started as an accounting major, of course, he was encouraging me
Didn't
to
Boogie
stay
start
on that
as a
path.
math major too, though?
What's
Like,
that?
didn't Boogie start as a math major too for a while? Like, that was kind of the joke. Like, we got Mark and Boogie both from the math department, and they're going to start coming after us.
I don't know what Boogie started as. I mean, he was a couple of years behind me, so I don't
Yeah.
really know where he started. But yeah, he was another one that kind of came out of nowhere.
Didn't Rick leave?
I started as poli sci.
Ollie Sci, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Did you
Ollie
finish
Sci.
his theater?
Yeah, I totally went straight into theater. Like 2 weeks in, I was like, nope, no poli sci.
Basically, I was at a certain point told if I wanted to get out of college with a degree, I might as well switch to theater since that's where I was spending all my time anyway.
Yeah.
Like, my advisor was like, look, 30% of people who don't worry about your career too much right now, 30% of the people who graduate college even start in a career that they actually graduated with. So that kind of sold me on it. I remember there was, I don't know if you're going to have to bleep any of these, but I remember the common response when people asked me what my major was, and I said accounting, was, what the fuck? Like, multiple people, at least 3 people had that exact response, including, I remember
Probably me. I don't know.
Joy, probably you.
Yep.
Jen Farron was a good one, I remember, because she was very, like, chill most of the time. And remember,
I'll fade
what
to
the
Jen
fuck?
Farron's
I'm like, did
face
that
right
come
now.
out of you? What's that?
I'll fade to Jen Farron's face right now since
Yeah.
he seems to be on every day player in like every show these days. Actually,
I
fun.
think she just had a baby.
Did she?
I think so.
Nice.
Where she's the day player on it. Like, if so, I get out of bed. I'm like, Renee, you'll never guess what's going on right now. She thought that was the funniest damn thing because it was random. It was just a random episode. But anyway,
That's awesome.
That's my Jen Farron story. And that's happened to me numerous times, and I'll always like her and Danetta and Dave Jenkins, I will message every time I see him in something random.
Blair Brooks I saw before, too.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, just ran a couple of times, actually, randomly. Yeah, I mean, it's cool when you see that happening. I mean, I'd like to bust Aiden's chops whenever I see him about when his ass exploded in Dark Knight.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, Eddie, too.
Yeah. That's what,
Yeah.
Isn't that what I said? Yeah.
No, yeah, that was Aiden Fior.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was just, I remember my kids were like in the room. I came around the corner and I just see, I'm like, holy shit, that's Aiden. Boom. Oh, shit, there goes Aiden.
I was watching Fear the Walking Dead, and it's this scene where this guy's like one of the heroes of the show has this ice pick and is just ice picking zombies, and I'm all of a sudden like, shit, Eddie Garcia just got ice picked to the eye. And I messaged him. It was him. He does stunt work now out in LA. For
That's cool.
that know or remember him. It's hard for me to gauge because like I was a junior when we worked together first. So I probably, anyone that's ahead of me, you may not know. So just whatever. Fisher, same two questions.
Well, I moved around a lot when I was a kid, and I lived in North Carolina. In my last 2 years of high school, we moved up to Ohio, and I hated it there. It was awesome. And so I decided when I went to college, I wanted to go back to the South because I missed the food, and I missed the people, and I missed the pace. So I was looking for a historic college with an arts program because I knew I wanted to do theater. So I decided on two colleges to go visit, Flagler down in St. Augustine and College of Charleston. I saw the production at not great. And so I was like, all right, well, everything's relying on the College of Charleston right now. And so they had a show going on in 220, which was True West with you and Paul. And I stayed with Olivia. Phil. Yeah, Phil, that's what I meant. Phil, I'm sorry. Sorry, Cousin Otto. But yeah, Marie picked me up from the airport, and I stayed with Olivia, and I went and saw True West, and I went and hung out with you guys afterwards, and there was no underage drinking involved at all.
Of course, none
whatsoever. And I just fell in love with it. Yeah, right. No, I mean, it was totally, everything was above board, and it was so much fun, and I just fell in love with everybody and the department, and I was just kind of stuck. So I decided College of Charleston was for me. And then how I got involved in Angels was actually the summer right before school started. I actually had been stage managing all through high school and had always done backstage work, but I decided that college was time for me to actually get a chance to act. So I wanted to come in in the acting department, and I auditioned for Joy, Vandervoort Cobb, and Bob Ivy, and Evan Perry were all in the room. And I auditioned, and I was terrible. And they were looking at my resume, and they were like, well, you say that you've been involved in theater your entire life, but I'm not really seeing that much experience. What have you been doing? And I was like, I was stage manager. And they're like, I'm sorry, we can't hear you. I was like, I was a stage manager. And all three of them went, oh, that's interesting, and actually started writing things down on their book. And I was like, that's the end of that. And so I was at the college for probably, a couple of weeks, and I get a phone call from Joy saying, hi, I remember you from auditions, and I need an assistant stage manager. Are you interested? And I said, absolutely, I'm in. And that was it. I worked every single semester after that on the main stage, and it was awesome. So Yeah.
So every semester that you were at College of Charleston, you worked on a main stage show.
Except for when I decided, because I was 20 years old and super brilliant and I didn't need a college education, I dropped out for 2 years. And then 2 years later, I realized how stupid that was. It was really dumb. So I went back, and I think it was 2003 was when I came back. And I walked into Marie's office and I said, "Hey, I'm back. Is there any work?" And she's like, "Yes, where have you been?" And she yells for Ian Maxwell, who was walking down the hall, and he was directing Wit at 220, and it's the only show I actually got a chance to work in 220 because every other show was main stage. So all my other shows were main stage, and I got to do Wit that first semester I came back to school. So, and that was an awesome show. So
Nice.
Yeah, really great.
I had a very similar how I found College of Charleston story in that I was shopping around and going to see shows. Like I had found a place that I thought I was really going to like. And then we drove back like 2 weekends later to see a show. And it was like a bad high school production. Like, and then randomly my parents were like, "Hey, why don't we go take a look at College of Charleston?" And I was like, "Only if we can see a show. I'm not driving there twice. 6 hours away." We've already done that a couple times. So they called, and at the time it wasn't Marie. Like I predate Marie. I know.
The department did not exist before Marie.
Yeah, I didn't think that was a thing. I thought
definitely.
Started counting the years. It was like
I wasn't sure about that, Marie, when she started. I missed Jerry. Jerry was there before Marie. I'm going to leave all of this in, too, just so Marie can watch. Marie. She's good by the Schutzes. She took my wife and I out to lunch to her daughter's restaurant when we were in town in 2019. When we went back for about almost a week to visit. We got a little Airbnb within walking distance. It actually... Oh,
yeah. My old place, right?
Yes.
Dylan...
It was where Dylan and it was across the street from my old apartment, which I'm assuming, Andrea, is where we went back for our dry...
Probably.
True West after party.
Yeah. Was it a couple of blocks up from St. Philip's?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
145.
145,
yeah.
That's right. It was 145. There were so many great parties there.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to touch base with you again about that, Shuts. I was, until COVID stuff happened, I was planning to try and get there at least for a long weekend, and that would be awesome to get there. I'm sure it's different, but...
Oh, yeah. Like
they probably took the glow-in-the-dark stars off the ceiling upstairs, but yeah.
It looks like it's been gutted and put back together. There was a little side door to go in because it was just this tiny one-bedroom little apartment that they had added on as an Airbnb to the rest of like the townhome or whatever that the dude owned. But yeah, anyway, so we went up to, my parents called Jerry. Jerry's like, "Oh, we have a show next weekend, and we can have somebody meet you and give you a tour on Saturday if you come up for the Friday show." So we end up getting these seats that are really great seats. Well, I mean, the Emmett really has great seats anywhere you are. And the show is Four Musketeers, which I know none of you saw, but directed by Evan. Evan did the adaptation himself. Probably could have self-edited a little bit. It was long. But the fighting was amazing. It was like unbelievable. The stage combat, the set, things were flying in, flying out. Like the whole level of the production was so far above any other college I had visited. Like insanity. And during the intermission, my parents and I didn't even move. And Jerry came to check in. It was like, "Oh, 10 o'clock tomorrow, Alan is gonna meet you." It's like Alan Lindrup, who doesn't know us at all, chair of the department at the time, met us Saturday morning. But the show is just unbelievable. And we just kind of look at each other at intermission, my parents and I, going, like, right? like flying stuff and like sword fighting and but what was really funny is that we are walking. I can't remember where my parents and I were walking the next day, but we were in Marion Square and we're waiting for the crosswalk to change. And there's this guy next to us, and he like overhears something and like says, "Oh no, that's like over here," and is like giving us directions. And conversation starts as we're like waiting for another street. He's a college student. My dad just says, "So what exactly did you do with Four Musketeers?" And I was appalled because this is just a student from the school. Like, this is not everyone at the school, Dad, was involved. And the guy just starts laughing. He played one of the Four Musketeers. If you ever, Mark, you may have heard the name Shadow. He was a lighting design major who also did actor tech, and he played one of the Musketeers. And then a year later, not even a year later, the very next semester, I'm in Dancing at Lunasa, and Shadow is doing the lighting design for it. It was very
I think because he was a stagehand around town before, after that, wasn't he?
Yeah, he stuck around for a little while.
I feel like he came back to do something, and I think I worked with him when I was doing stagehand stuff at the Coliseum.
Probably. Yeah, it was really funny.